JB here, JB here. Hope everyone's doing outstanding. Monday, November 3rd, 327 on this fine afternoon. Talk quick about the market. Some names I'm looking at go from there. S&P up about tenth, a little over 10%, bouncing off the morning lows. Markets open at highs, hit lows about 11 o'clock, found a bid, and then just been bouncing since about 11 o'clock. About a 0.3% trading range on a SPY. NASDAQ up about 0.4%. And it's kind of like one of those odd sessions. And it feels like that, especially over the last couple of weeks, where the argument of the lack of breath, right? The bad breath in the market, meaning not a lot of stocks are leading the charge. And today, some days we have red sessions and there's a decent amount of greens, a few green stocks, and we have sell off. Some days we have a huge rally and there's a lot of red stocks. Today it just feels like it's like a weak session. With a lot of names that are down quite a bit. But I mean, there's a lot that are up quite a bit, but it just feels like, I don't know how to put it. But I think earlier today there was like 400 or 355 of the 500 S&P companies in the S&P were in the red today. So anyway, we'll see. I have that little chart in a second. Things matter when they matter, right? And right now it doesn't matter. I mean, markets in the green here. And, after the close, we have Palantir earnings, Hims and Hers reports after the close. The big one, I guess, this week will be AMD. We have PMI on Wednesday, so it's tough to think what's going to really derail the rally. Besides, at some point things will matter, right? The amount of stocks trading over their 50-day moving average on the S&P will start to matter. The yield staying over 4%, things like that. But today also take a look at VIX, kind of flat. So I mean, nothing crazy. And this, chop pretty much this afternoon so far. So it's tough for me to try to get some conviction, some of the names that I'm looking at. So in lieu of trying to just trade to get into position, I'm just going to sit on my hands. Some of the names that were running up in the morning, those have faded, and then the names I'm in pretty much been chopping around. So chop is not the best thing for option premium. So I'd rather wait till I see some opportunities and go from there. Similar, like this morning, we have the pull right after the open, and one half of me says, okay, let's try and find a hedge or a way to play some downside. But the other half knows there's going to be two scenarios. One is I'm going to have to cut them on a bounce, so going to be a tight trade. Hold on one second here, and it's just, to me, it's like it's going to be like a scalp trade, right? So that's not my forte. I'm more or less when I do scalp, it's because a position's going the other way, right? So we've seen it with Broadcom. Broadcom's another name I was watching again, just like Friday. So maybe there'll be a setup there, and it just kind of flatlined. So thankfully, I didn't chase anything in the morning. Sometimes, not throwing cash at a position just to trade is a winning trade. So, and to take a look at Broadcom today, I was just saying it before. It's like chopping around. It just actually just hit lows of the day, but like a quiet sell-off. And then even to try and make money on some puts on those names like those, I don't even want to look at the puts because they're probably down 25, 30%, even though the stock is down 2% here today. Let's see. Now, weeklies are up like 20%, but when would you have to get in? And premiums are expensive. All right, so that's overall market. Just quick on some individual names. Well, actually, the amount of stocks trading over there, 50-day moving average. Take a look at the chart here, down to 37%. So, you take a look at today, right? Amazon, Tesla, some of the bigger mega cap names, those kind of like driving force. People are going to make these, and you hear it a lot, right? The top 1% of the richest 1% hold 90% of the world's equities, or whatever those formulas are, right? So it's almost like the market's kind of like the same way, right? Only like 1% of the country is enjoying this rally because they're the only one really fully vested, right? So it's kind of like how the market is. There's only a few, not all the stocks are pushing the markets higher. And the names that are, obviously, the higher mega names. All right, so that's overall market. Just quick on some individual names. First I just want to talk about Lemonade. And, they report earnings Wednesday morning. And it's like one of those names that's, I put on watch. It could be up 25% after earnings on Wednesday. It could be down 25%. I wouldn't be surprised either way, even on a big beat and raise. It's just one of those divisive names. To me, the surprise thing, if there's some kind of open AI or some kind of partnership with other AI names or investments or things like that, those are kind of like the catalysts have been pushing some of these names. So for me, the only way I'm going to trade Lemonade is if I can get some premium build, lock some in, cover costs, ride the rest free into Wednesday. I was trying to play at the open 62. I think it's 62.75 is a 52-week high. What looked like it was going to start to break over that. So I got those weekly strikes. I don't know why I don't have my chart up here. And fizzle, got up to 62 and change. Oh, I think got over spiked over 63 after I got the calls. And then sure enough, fizzles. Didn't want to be in a spot where the premiums come out and they're actually still flat. So I closed the calls flat. And I don't know if I'll revisit tomorrow because there'll be another opportunity, but gonna have to get out before the close Tuesday afternoon. So just love the story. I mean, I've said this last year too. I think end of last year and then into this year, some point there's $100 stock, 150, 200, it goes on some epic run. Uh, would love to be in it when it happens. Just the premiums make it tough to have any true conviction. I'm not going to trade as like a complete lotto, so, especially when the premiums are expensive. You can get some calls that are $10 out of money for 25 cents, no problem. But when the strikes, 70 strikes or $2, I didn't even look at those side. But all right, so that's lemonade, and then PayPal, right? So got those calls Friday afternoon. Stock was in the 67, spikes all the way into the 69s. And then this morning, I figured some follow through. I figured into the 70s, 71.29 is the big area, the 200-day moving average. Thought there'd be a break and go. Got up into the 70s after the open and just kind of fizzled. And it was kind of like disappointing and doing what it almost felt like it was doing what it did after its earnings. Like just you thought there'd be a follow through and break into the 80s and it just faded for the rest of the day. So I didn't want to have to sit there and watch those strikes just erode. So I locked them out for a small gain. And then the thought was I was going to look to get some closer strikes, inexpensive closer strikes, so that when it does have the move, there'll be bigger multi-baggers. So possibility, one of the strikes I was looking at is the November 21st 80 strikes. So at the open this morning, they spiked all the way to 40 cents. And then right now, I think they're 25 cents. So you have to think if it gets to the 71, 72 by the end of the week, those will be at least a double. So don't be surprised if I look to revisit that strike or at least go closer on PayPal. Just so disappointing. So that's that. Serve Robotics. I mean, it seems like the small caps are all getting destroyed at the open as well. IWM was down like in a flash, almost 1.5%. So, small caps have since come back, still down about 0.6%. But the names that I love, like the Serve Robotics, the Jobies, and all these other small cap names taking on the chin. Still love Serve here. I mean, the story hasn't changed. It's just 1375's got a break and hold, and I think off to the races. Their earnings next week, so I'll probably be patient pending any kind of catalyst or news. You would think with that Dash news, it would be substantially higher, but hey, I can't control the markets, right? The most frustrating thing is knowing that, or I should say knowing, my belief and conviction Serve Robotics is severely undervalued, especially based on its 2026 revenues, but markets tell me I'm wrong right now. At some point, I'll be right. The thing will start to continuation over that 18 level, but I'll be patient there. Turn Pharmaceuticals used to do. It was a name I traded last year, especially in the summer, then into the obesity week in 2024. I think it's right around the same time frame. Great story. Huge short interest, traded less than cash value, has a GLP-1 early stage. I think it was phase 1, phase 2 when I started trading it. Sure enough, they came out with their slides for obesity week and the stock going bonkers in the morning. The thing is, the premiums leading up to it, I haven't actually looked at the premiums, were expensive to begin with. So even with this, well, what was it, 72% move, the calls are up 3, 4, 500%. Typically, when you have a 70% move on a stock that was, what was it, $8 coming into today, the call's gonna be up a couple thousand%. On the flip side, too, trying to find any strikes to play for it to move to 20. I was looking maybe at the Novembers, but I'll wait maybe if it finds some footing. TSB mentioned earlier, probably going to do some kind of offering. You have to think, even though they're well positioned in regards to their cash, they're no debt, plenty of cash, but you have to think that still early in their studies. So anytime they can do an offering, especially with the stock up so much, they're probably going to do it. So that's that VKTX. Disappointing to see it down here 5%. They present Wednesday and Thursday at 2:30, so I'll continue to hold the November 21st strikes there. And then Roku, right? If you follow Roku over the years, typically Roku has a run up at the morning, sells off, and then that's the highs of the day. Today, different story. It's almost like promising to see it kind of like doing trading different than what it's done in the past. So I take that as a good thing. At the same token, I still have PTSD on Roku over the years trading it. So didn't want to be in a spot where my November 14th strikes lose premium. So I lock some more of those in. Just have one left. I'll just continue to hold that, and then I still have the 130s. Already locked most of those in. And then if it finds some footing tomorrow and has continuation, you have to. And I don't even know. I don't have my chart up here. but 116, that's probably the key area, right? So got up to that on Friday. So if you can break over that, then maybe it's the start of a new uptrend. You still have a lot of folks, and get the argument similar to Reddit. People people don't use it, right? They don't know anybody who uses it either. So right off the bat, that's their bear case. Like, how is this stock going? How's it worth $20 billion or whatever? And meanwhile, they totally miss it. And that's always been my premise with Roku is I think most people have never used it, have never interacted with, don't know what they do, and because of that, the story's misunderstood, and that creates opportunity. And I think, and you saw it this morning, Piper Sandler upgrading the stock. I think as the days progress, I think there'll be more people switching from that misunderstood story or bear story to say, hey, I think we're missing something here. And then maybe it starts to really start to take off. And not only that, you take a look at Roku, the profits, right? So for the last year and a half, 2 years, they've been struggling. They're always saying, oh, we're going to be profitable. And then it finally come to fruition. So if they continue to grow and scale and be more profitable, then, I mean, more opportunities and more growth. And so I'm not going to get on the, bandwagon where I think it gets to 150 by the end of the year, but that's certainly a possibility if, especially seeing the upgrade this morning and more folks get on the bandwagon. I think that's a possibility. All right, so that's Roku. And then some other names. Obviously, 1-800-Flowers not doing anything here today. I don't know if it's going to need to upgrade. I still think that breaks into the fours. And then, I still sell my GLL calls and dust calls, so I'll continue to hold those. Seems like gold's been right around that 4,000 threshold. So something's going to give at some point. And to me, I think it's to the downside. Once 3,800 comes, I think it's going to head under that. So anyways, have a great day. I'll be back. Rock and roll.